in your family, Glessner Wharton Andrews Insurance has the drive and the ability to keep you protected.
Frio Stack and Associates Auctioneers, Realtors, Certified Appraisers specializing in antiques, business liquidations, multi-parcel land auctions. Frio Stack and Associates is a regional business offering the executor, attorney, agent, and other individuals the most comprehensive and technologically advanced auction and appraisal services available. For information on our service, call our office at 304-233-3168 or email frioauc@aol.com. Frio Stack and Associates sells the earth and everything on it.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your start to the work week. Partly cloudy skies this afternoon. A daytime high near 87 degrees. Overnight low of 70 degrees. Under partly cloudy skies, a widely scattered shower. Mostly sunny for your Tuesday, with highs in the lower 90s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
News, information, conversation, controversy, and fun. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
A lot of back-to-school stuff I want to get to here in a couple of minutes. We'll talk to Marshall County's AFT President Josh Gary, who is also a candidate for the state Senate. He'll be heading back to the classroom tomorrow. Teachers in tomorrow in Marshall County. So we'll talk about back-to-school and other issues pending in the Mountain State as we look at his candidacy for the state Senate. Hundreds of state teachers in West Virginia sent letters to the state school board concerned over back-to-school plans. Our statewide reporter Brad McElhaney coming up a little bit later on to discuss that with us. And I want to revisit some of the numbers on this Wheeling Park High School Faculty Senate vote from last week. We talked about it very briefly and moved on, but I saw an editorial in the paper that I think was a little bit unfair because I don't think they did their arithmetic quite right. So we'll get into that. More reaction to the Bishop Bransfield apology and the amends that he had to make. Big parade supporting Trump rolled through Eastern Ohio this weekend. Republican National Convention begins. The Postmaster General appears before the congressional committee. And the House passes a bill on postal reform, but probably won't see any movement in the Senate or any signing by the president. Several new local restaurants have opened up during the pandemic, and that's a really good thing, but I want to tell you about one that took a stab at it, but so far at least has not seemed to make it. All of that is coming up. Temperature bumping up just a smidgen. We are looking at a daytime high around 86 today. A little bit of patchy fog floating around outside my home studio, but the sun is out and beaming down right now. Sky conditions, however, will probably cloud up as the day goes on. It's going to be hot, going to be muggy, could see some showers, thunderstorms this afternoon. Currently 70 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport and 68 degrees here at my home studios in Elm Grove, as well as 68 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. There is a picture that I posted on Facebook this morning that I want you to take a look at if you can. It is from the picture comes from a Cleveland TV station. A mother sent the picture to the TV station of her son trying to adapt to virtual kindergarten. Biff, it literally makes me weep. It's this little kid, probably not much more than Teddy's age or your kid's age, your nephew's age.
I better not have a kid.
So, yeah. You know, sometimes you never are sure.
Yeah, well, there's that, yeah.
I remember asking one of my kids one time, something about, he goes, Dad, I'm pretty sure I don't have any out there. You're pretty sure? What? Anyway, but this is it's a really sad picture. It's this little kid, I say about Teddy's age, maybe a little bit older. He's sitting in front of a little tidy, he's at his home. And the refrigerator is next door to him, for example. So you can see he's in his home, he's in his kitchen. He's sitting at a little makeshift desk that they have for him. His computer screen is there. He's got his little lunchbox on the desk, and a little thing of water, and he's working on a notebook. And he's crying into his T-shirt. He's crying into his T-shirt. And the mom who sent the picture to the Cleveland TV station says, I just took that picture because I wanted people to see reality. And then he came to me and we hugged, and I was crying right along with him. There is no easy answer to this in terms of the impact on kids. I am a believer in starting the schools remotely. I am a believer in not putting kids in classroom right now. I think there's too much concern about several different concerns I have. Number one is the actual spread of COVID to kids and from the kids to their parents and grandparents where they did bring them home. The impact on the teachers themselves and the staff who are there. I just think at this stage of the game it's still a little bit too iffy. I do, to talk about this kind of stuff. I also worry about trying to put kids this age, again, I'm guessing Teddy's age, 5, 6, 7, something like that, probably younger than 7. I'm concerned about trying to have them go to school and to wear a mask and stay socially distant. It's just too hard to have kids do that. So, I mean, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. The kids are going to be dramatically impacted. There's just no argument about it. The kids are going to be dramatically impacted. But boy, this picture just brings it home. Again, you can see it on my Facebook page of this little kid just crying. He just cried in his T-shirt. He didn't want to be sitting at this silly little desk looking at, and he's all dressed up for school, and it looks like he's got boots on, he's all dressed up, well, kind of dressed up for school, Biffy, and he's doing his work. And he's got to be saying to himself, what's going on here? Where are my teachers? Where are my friends? And again, some of you go, well, Howard, that's the whole point, why to get kids back in school. You get no disagreement from me that the best thing to do is to put kids in school, but sometimes we can't do the best thing possible. Sometimes we have to do the right thing, and I still am very nervous about putting kids in the classroom. There are no easy answers, but man, just look at that picture if you can on my Facebook page, and it really drives it home, I think. If you'd like to check it out again, it's on my Facebook page if you want to take a look at that. Last week we talked very briefly about we've had Jenny Craig on from the Ohio County Education Association a number of times, and she's talked about how she's talked about how members of the OCEA feel about going back to school. And we have Dale Lee on from WVEA, and Dale also is concerned across the state that there are lots of districts where it's just not right yet for the teachers to be back in school. And so the WVEA has taken the approach of let's have remote learning to begin with, but that is not what's happening. I wanted to just take a real quick second to take a look at this story that was out last week, though, from Wheeling Park High School. And it was presented in a way to say, aha, you see, the teachers union isn't really representing the teachers. And the story is a vote of the faculty senate at Wheeling Park High School, where the majority of the teachers who voted wanted to vote to get back into the classroom. But we said at the time, it was less than half of the teachers who actually voted. And I got rethinking this again over the weekend when I read editorial in the newspaper, and they were talking about this faculty senate vote, and I want to just read one paragraph. The overwhelming majority of Wheeling Park High School teachers who voted sent an important message. They want it known that they think the kids should be back in school. Well, I did some quick math here, and I want to be clear that the only numbers I have are the numbers that I get from the newspaper, okay? That's where I get my newspaper. There were 126 teachers, faculty at Wheeling Park High School. 68 of them actually voted, so 54%. 78% of the 68 who voted yes. So that was 54 votes. So if you do the math on that, 43% said they thought it was good to get back in the classroom. Not a majority, certainly not an overwhelming majority. Again, if you do the math using the numbers the newspaper has, and those are the only numbers I have, if you first of all look at how many people did vote compared to how many faculty there were, and then of those who voted, how many voted yes, get back to classroom, you discover it's not a majority. It is less than a majority of that. So I don't want to fight or belabor, but I think the attempt was made to present this article about the Faculty Senate at Wheeling Park High School as if it was showing the teachers union don't really represent the faculty. I think that was the intent of the article. And I think if you do the math, you don't draw that conclusion at all. I want to continue talking about this whole go back to school stuff, and I want to talk about it in terms of what teachers are thinking, and also in terms of the politics of it, if you will. So I have asked to join us this morning candidate for state senate out of Marshall County, Josh Gary, who is also with the AFT. Josh, are you still the president of the AFT down there?
Yeah, in Marshall County I am.
Yeah. What's the position your teachers have taken, or have you taken a position on this?
Well, our position is we want to go back safely. We haven't taken any votes, and we don't plan on taking any votes, but everybody I've talked to is eager to get back, but they're just like me, they're still a little nervous about it. We are working with our local leadership. Dr. Haynes, our superintendent, has been wonderful at keeping the lines of communication open and asking how we feel about things, what our, thoughts would be, and so on. So I feel pretty good about my local county. I know there's issues in other counties where it's not the same, but as we're talking about Marshall County, I'd say most of us feel, while we have some apprehension, of course, we're feeling ready to go back, but we want to go back safely.
Bring me up to speed. What is the plan in Marshall County? Is it going to be a few days in, a few days out, or is it 5 days a week in the classroom? Remind me of what the planned policy is in Marshall County right now.
Right now, September 8th, day one, we go back on what we refer to as a hybrid schedule. Monday and Tuesday would be, I believe, children's last names A through L, and then Thursday, Friday would be children last names M through Z. And I might be a little off on those letters, but that's about how it is.
Right, gotcha.
And then Wednesday would be simply remote. So children would be in, like my two daughters are a G, so they would go Monday and Tuesday, and then be off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for remote learning. And then the students that are the other half would be off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for remote learning, and then be in school Thursday and Friday.
Now, as a teacher, are you going to have to do both in-seat lessons and remote learning lessons? Will you be doing both of those? And will other teachers as well, but I'm just talking to you. So, will each teacher individually be trying to do both remote learning and in-seat learning?
For students that are coming the 2 days a week, yes. There are some students whose parents have elected to have them go completely remote for the first 9 weeks, and I understand in Marshall County, Dr. Haynes has decided to post extra duty jobs to have teachers work with those students separately. So I will have students that are in class and remote. So I'll be working with the students in class the same time I'm working with the students that are remote, I guess you could say. So it's a new ball game, but we're all trying to adjust to it, and we're all trying to do the best job we can.
And I don't mean this to be critical, and I know you're not being critical at all. I want to say that up front. But it's got to be difficult. Talk to me about what it's like to be a teacher, to have to juggle those, because those are two different skill sets, really, right? Remote learning and in-seat learning. I mean, juggling those back and forth has got to be difficult for you, any teacher.
That is one of the things that keeps me up at night. Not just preparing for it, but just the thought of it. So yes, I have a lot of trepidation about it, but I know that I and all my colleagues are doing the best they can to adjust to it. And our administrators, I would say, are giving us as many tools as they possibly can to work with all of our students. And unfortunately, some of our students don't have access to reliable broadband internet, and that has been a large issue. So we're trying to work around those things as well.
And what's being done about that?
Well, in Marshall County, we are, at least at the high school and middle school, going one-to-one. Each student will get their own iPad issued by the county. And that's, I know that our tech department has been working very hard on that, getting those things ready this summer. I just picked up my own daughter's iPad the other day. But the way we're kind of working it is we will kind of front load all the students' work when they're at school. They can complete it at home and then bring it back and upload it again if they don't have internet at home. But I know Marshall County has set up some hotspot locations. I know Dr. Haynes is having a few places set up. People can drive to the schools on their off day or on the weekend to upload stuff on our internet. And I know the governor has suggested a few things too.
And Josh, we're talking to Josh Gary, who is also, besides the AFT president of Marshall County, is running for the state Senate. And I want to talk about the politics of this in a minute. But so we're talking about, you and I just got done talking about the impact on teachers or how you all are juggling this. Of course, there's a tremendous impact both on parents and on students. As a parent, now you have 2 kids, is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, I have 2 daughters.
And so they're going to be home a few extra days a week, right? What age groups are they, if I may ask?
My daughters are 15 and 13.
Okay. So they can probably handle themselves. But the impact on parents is something I think that really we haven't spent a whole lot of time thinking about. Parents are going to have kids that normally are in school 5 days a week but aren't anymore, at least not for a while. It's going to be a tremendous impact on their lives. Oh, yeah.
I've talked to a lot of parents that are worried about what they're going to do. I have colleagues who have very young children. They're trying to find daycare or babysitting services for them. And believe me, I understand their plight. But, I mean, I think there are some places out there that can care for children. I know there are after-school programs in Marshall County. I know that Dr. Haynes has been working with different groups around Marshall County trying to make sure that all our students are taken care of and watched over at all times as needed.
And the impact on the kids, there is no solution to this situation that isn't going to be a serious impact on the kids. If we bring the kids, let's assume, as some people want, we have a full normal schedule, 5 days a week, blah, blah, blah. They're going to have to be wearing masks and be socially distant and be acting very abnormally for kids, I think, especially for younger kids, just by the nature of what has to be done in COVID time, even if they get back in school completely. And if they don't, they're going to be at home the kids are going to be at home trying to adapt to a whole new learning environment. I posted a picture on my Facebook page this morning, came out of a TV station in Columbus, of just a little kid, I'm guessing a first grader, sitting at his little desk in his kitchen and just crying, trying to figure out what he's doing here, sitting at my home desk, looking at a computer screen. I mean, it's just got to be, there's no easy solution for kids, too. They are going to be impacted no matter what we do.
Yes, they will. And we're trying to do I know on my end, as a teacher, I'm trying to do my best to make it as simple and easy for them to do this while learning the content I have to teach them. And it's got to be hard on parents. I mean, you've seen pictures on Facebook and other places of parents sitting there at the table crying, trying to figure out how to help their kids with their homework. And I've been there too, and I'm a teacher, and it's still like, how do you do this? I don't teach this. But it's something where, unfortunately, we're in the middle of it, and we are going to have to make the best of it. And hopefully everybody can work together. I know any parent I have told of my students, they are welcome to call me, and all of my daughter's teachers have, of course, told me, and other parents, I'm free to call them with any questions. So I think if we just work together, that will make it a little easier. It's not going to be simple by any means, but working together and trying to help each other out is probably going to make it a lot easier than it otherwise would be. And I know kids staying home by themselves can be another problem. I mean, I was a latchkey kid myself when I was younger, and I look back and think, oh my God, I had to do that, walk across mountains when I was in second grade by myself and stay at home until my parents got home from work. And I hate to have to do that hate to have to see other parents do that with their kids, but it's just, we're doing the best we can to try and figure out a solution, but nothing's going to come easy.
You know, I guess the first thing for everybody involved, whether it's parents, teachers, the community, the students, the best for everybody is to begin with the acknowledgement that there is no easy answer to this. Mm-hmm. You're right. Again, there's some who think that if we would just go back to normal, everything would be fine, but it wouldn't be, because the kids would have to wear masks and be socially distant, and that is antithetical to their way of acting. Again, I'm thinking more of younger kids. So we have to begin with just the sad understanding that there is no easy solution. There is no right way of doing it. Then we got to figure out how do we make it how do we lessen the impact as much as possible? Because there will be an impact.
Yes. It's just finding the right way to do it. And it was going to be trial and error, just like with anything that's new. And hopefully we find a solution. And hopefully this goes away sooner rather than later. But until it does, we have to figure something out. And we're trying to do that.
Josh, you're running for state senate, so let's talk about the politics of this. Do you think this whole COVID situation has been handled well at the state level? Has Governor Justice done a good job? Has the legislature, well, the legislature hasn't had much to say about it. I mean, talk to me about, you're running for political office, so let's take off the teacher hat and put on the political candidate hat. How do you think this whole situation has been handled?
Well, I think there's been good and some not so good. I think, especially early on, the governor did the right thing, shutting things down. It might have seemed too soon, but I think in hindsight, I think being on the cautious side was the right thing to do, because who knows how much faster it could spread if we had kept schools open. And listening to the medical experts, and it seemed like things were going well, but it seems like lately, like after we fired Dr. Slim, who is a well-trained physician, and things become more political, it's just leaving me kind of scratching my head. We opened things back up real quick, and it's like, are we worried about health in one scenario, but then all of a sudden the economy takes such a dive that we're just going to put business interests or the governor's interests first now? I don't know.
One of the things that at least confuses, if not bothers me, is that it seems like we're changing. The governor came up with this color-coded system, which he first announced without having any real metrics behind it. We're going to have a color-coded system, but we don't know how it's going to work. And it seems like literally every other day he's been adjusting and modifying that. I guess we could say it's a good thing. He changes on the fly. On the other hand, we don't have a lot of stability because we're just not sure how this whole thing is working out.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some preliminary ideas to that color-coded system way before he brought it out, so it wasn't anything really new to me. And I think on looking at it, it's a good idea to have it so people can see where they lie. I mean, if my county's in green, I can feel good about it. If my county is in orange or red, I have to really kind of think about what I'm going to do, if I'm going to go out more often, when I'm going to send my kids to school. It gives educators more pause to say, okay, well, we probably ought to slow things down here. So at face value, yes, it's good. I don't know if waiting to the last second to make decisions is a great idea. I really wish the governor wouldn't wait until September 1st to make his decision, because people have to plan. That's going to be really difficult if all of a sudden, September 1st, we hear from the governor, we're going completely remote. Okay, I got to change our plans again, although I am preparing myself for that. The parents have to change their plans instead of planning for 3 days of babysitting. They have to plan for 5 days of babysitting. And giving them 3 days and a weekend to plan for is really not a great thing.
Yeah, I've been saying for the last several weeks that the number one concern we all should have, of course, is health and safety. The health and safety of the staff, the students, and parents, and so on. But a close second is certainty. A close second is giving us as much certainty as possible, as far down the road as we possibly can. This idea, and we went through this in the spring, Josh, where it was for a while. It was like, well, we're gonna get back to school on next Tuesday, but wait until Monday because I might change it and move it to another. We need more certainty to this. We need certainty to what we're doing.
Exactly, and I feel like these decisions need to be made in a time frame that people can work better with. I understand some things happen at the last second, but these are decisions to be made with a little more time to spare.
Let me shift gears before I let you go to one other subject in the state at the State House, and it has not to do with the back to school, but there's been an awful lot of controversy, and I've stoked some of it, I guess, about the governor's refusal to get the legislature involved in really any of his decision-making anymore, but in particular the spending of this $1.2 billion of money that came to us from the federal government. The governor just has denied a special session of the legislature, doesn't want the lawmakers involved, and said, y'all could just use the suggestion box if you want to. Give me your take on that.
Well, I teach civics at John Marshall, and one of the first things that the lessons is about the legislature is that they have the power of the purse. So when the governor is given $1.25 billion, I think the right thing to do is to bring in the legislature and say, okay, here are my ideas. What do you think? And let's do this by the constitutional means. I think the governor just spending that money willy-nilly is wrong, and I think he should have the legislature more involved. I'm not saying that it should be, I don't know if that's the legislature calling themselves into session. I think it should be more limited to just the CARES Act and COVID money. But he definitely needs to have more of a kind of some guidance from the legislature, I believe.
Josh, I need to let you go. Before I do, is there any other issue you want to take a quick swing at before we go? We will talk, I'm sure, a good bit more between now and Election Day, A, about your candidacy, and probably B, about this whole back-to-school situation. But anything else you want to take a swing at right now while we're talking?
Just that I'm running because of all of these issues and many others as well. I think that the current majority in the legislature has been looking at things all wrong. They have ignored the issues that need to be looked at. If they had been taking care of issues with such as infrastructure, broadband connectivity, a lot of these educational problems would be easier to deal with right now. But instead of planning ahead, they were busy doing other things that really have not helped West Virginians.
It's a great point, and I've made it over and over again. It is not as if we suddenly learned this year that we have a broadband infrastructure problem in West Virginia. We've talked about it every year, year after year, for numerous years. And every once in a while, someone takes a stab at proposing some legislation, but basically nothing's been done. We just tread water, kick the can down the road, and now we've come to the end of the road where it's critical, and now we're scrambling to get these problems fixed. Had we done that, I'm on my soapbox, I'm sorry. Had we done that, had we done that early on, had we done that over the last, 6-7 years when we've seen the problem coming, had we fixed it little by little along the way, maybe we wouldn't be worrying about this kind of stuff right now in the midst of a pandemic. But that's my take on it. Josh, I appreciate your time this morning again. We'll probably talk a good bit more between now and Election Day, except I have to get you up earlier once you get back to school. Are you going to classroom tomorrow, is that right?
Yeah, we're back in the buildings tomorrow.
All right. Well, good luck with that, and we'll see how things go, and I'll talk to you, I'm sure, as time goes by. Thanks for joining us today, though.
Thank you, Howard.
I appreciate it. All right, Josh Gary is a candidate for the state senate from the Marshall County area, second senatorial district, and also president of the AFT in Marshall County. So kind of a confluence of those two topics. Now, a number of teachers around West Virginia have sent letters to the Department of Education, the state school board, basically, because they didn't allow anybody into their last meeting when they were talking about this kind of stuff. So our buddy Brad McElhenney has pulled some of the information together about that. A couple of hundred teachers, a couple of hundred letters, as I understand it. What was the gist of those? What's the upshot of those? We will talk about that with Brad McElhenney coming up in just a couple of minutes here on the Watchdog Morning Show. But first, we better check headlines. Our team is here from the Big 7.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for your local.
Okie dokie. Bradley. Okay, sounds good. Okay.
To local food banks through our partnership with Feeding America. And we're working with World Wildlife Fund to end food waste. But we can't do it alone. And we hope you'll join us in creating a world with zero hunger and zero waste. Visit thekrogerco.com to learn how you can help. Love getting prices that are lower than low on backyard favorites like grill-ready hamburgers and fresh-picked strawberries? Then shop at Kroger. We give you more ways to save on the fresh you love with tools like the Kroger app, where you can find personalized coupons on top of weekly sales. Plus, rewards like fuel points, giving you prices that are lower than the everyday low. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
An unsorted, tangled web may be the best way to describe the Mountaineer football schedule at this point. We already knew games against Florida State and Maryland were canceled. Then last week, WVU Athletic Director Shane Lyons announced that no fans will be allowed into the opening game against Eastern Kentucky. I asked Lyons what that now means for season ticket holders.
Well, there's different options that's been given out there, from the Mountaineer Athletic Club and our ticket office, about 3 different options that you can leave your money there, and it's a philanthropic gift. You can use some of that money to purchase single game tickets. Hopefully we get to that point in the future games, or you can ask for a refund. So those are the things that we're asking. And hopefully, we have, what I want to put us in, Tony, is a spot moving into the future. I understand that this isn't going to go away overnight. So what does next year look like? And I don't want to be behind the 8 ball still, come a year from now and looking at it, and how can we get in front of this from a financial perspective? I really believe, the future is bright for Mountaineer football. I believe in Coach Brown and what he can do for this team. This team is really fired up about playing this season. We're excited about that, and how do we keep that momentum moving forward? And a lot of that deals with resources. And so any help that we can get as a department and gifts to the department, that's going to help us in the future.
Lyons estimates the athletic department could lose up to $20 million as the result of COVID-19. That is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
Miss a part of the show? Want to hear a segment again? Check out our podcast page at watchdognetwork.com. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
I want to thank Josh Gary, State Senate candidate and AFT president in Marshall County, for joining us in the last segment of the show. And I did want to mention, because I do with any candidate, his candidate website, JoshGary4WV.com, JoshGary for WV, spell it out, JoshGary4WV.com. That is Josh Gary's website if you want to get some more information about the things that he is standing for and working for, were he to be elected to the state senate. And again, I suspect education will be a big thing, since he is a teacher, and B, the AFT president down in Marshall County. So thanks to Josh for joining us, and I forgot to mention that. Coming up later on, the intel over the weekend, I think it might have been the Sunday News Register that comes out on Saturday.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Actually, no, come to think of it, because it had to be on Sunday. So this must have actually been, I don't know. Anyways, they went out and talked to people at Mass over the weekend about their reaction to Bishop Bransfield's apology, please put that in quotes, and the amends that he had to make. And I'll share with you what the intel found out from the faithful who were at Mass coming out. And also coming up, we'll talk about high school sports attendance policies that have now been set up in West Virginia. But let's continue talking about education and teachers and all that sort of stuff. And once again, I've invited back our old friend Brad McElhaney to talk about it. Good morning, Brad.
Good morning.
I don't wake you up too early, do I? I don't know what time you get up and get to work. I always feel like I'm...
I get up, what I consider reasonably early. Probably not as early as Hoppy Kercheval does, but reasonably early, because I've got to consume my news in a variety of formats so that I'm ready for the day.
Is it consuming it? We are super consumers of news. People like you and I guess. Well, I was consuming news, and I saw an interesting piece that you had written at WVMetroNews.com. Apparently, a lot of teachers around West Virginia wanted their opinions known to the state school board, so they sent letters out. Hundreds, I guess, right? I mean, hundreds of letters were sent?
Yeah, it was more than 250 pages of commentary from the public. and to give you some boring background, when the state school board meets under normal conditions, there is a part of the agenda called delegations at the beginning, and everything's different now. But obviously public interest is heightened, so the school board is not having people in person right now. In months past has read aloud written delegation reports, often coming from AFT West Virginia or the WVEA or other groups. In this case, the last time the board met, there were just an enormous number of contributions from the public, and most of them, you're right, were teachers, although some describe themselves as parents or grandparents, or sometimes playing a dual role. I am a teacher and a parent, and I have concerns on both levels. There were some of the 250-some pages that were sort of a group collected document that had sort of an entire set of comments from people. But, we're in this moment where people have to make difficult choices. The school year, the target date is right upon us. It's an incredible set of circumstances where people are having to decide, this risk calculation. Is it safe to send my children? Even if they're fine, what effect might be the spread of virus on my family or the teachers or the bus drivers or the custodians? What is to be lost by not going? And so I was really very interested in what was said, but the school board, when they met last time, there were so many, and the delegations were not there in person, so they essentially just said that they paused for a couple of minutes, and I took it to mean they said, all right, duly noted, and that they would put them on file or refer to them later or read them on their own time. But I wanted to know what they were said, so I asked for them and got them and kind of summarized the concerns that people have. And I think the other thing that interesting
summarize them for us. What were the concerns that seem to be raised by teachers, parents, or whomever else sent those comments?
Yeah, well, they made available a degree of what the average person is thinking, whether it's the regular classroom teacher or a parent who is worried. And what we've gotten so far has been a level above that, the leadership of AFT or the leadership of WVEA. So I was really interested in sort of the regular person's thoughts. And, these were people who were the absolute most concerned, who took the time to write a letter. And I'm sure there are other opinions out there where maybe they're not as motivated to send in the written comments, or they're unfamiliar with how. But these were, they kind of fell into different groups. Teachers, particularly older ones who were concerned for their own health. And I lead with one who was in that situation. And you may say to yourself, well, couldn't they get a doctor's excuse or move into the position of teaching virtually? But I don't know that there's any guarantee that either one would be accepted. So there are a few with that deep level of personal concern. What am I going to do? Then there is another category of younger teachers who feel like they're being hammered into as a round peg into a square hole. That this, along with the other situations in West Virginia the last couple of years, is discouraging in calling this a career that you want to do, that they feel like they're being forced into the school year with a lot of concerns and a lot of unanswered questions, and that overall is just discouraging them. And then there was another group.
Did I not read in your article? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you a bit, because I want you to continue. But did I not read in your article at least one of the teachers? I know it's a teacher who said, if I had known what was going to happen, I probably wouldn't have taken a job with the school system?
Yeah, there were a few like that. One was someone who moved to West Virginia with his family, and he took a job as a teacher in the coal fields. And the idea was to get closer to grandparents. And now the calculation he's facing is, well, I'm going to go into the school system in the fall where, it's a congregate setting, and if someone comes in with an asymptomatic case or a case that's just emerging, I may be exposed to this virus. And then what happens if I pass it along to my children, the teacher is thinking, and then my children pass it on to the grandparents that we've moved here to see. There was another teacher in this story who was a young teacher, was the National Honor Society advisor, was the tennis coach, and then quit teaching, pulled out on July 22nd of this year. She says, "You lost a darn good," and the phrase wasn't darn good, I'm not sure what's acceptable. "You lost a darn good educator because you refused to protect us. You're willing to dish out thousands of thermometers and fancy sanitizers, but do not trust educators to make their own choices about what is safe for them. You're ignoring science and hoping the decisions you make will not result in deaths in every school across the state. You're hoping the deaths we have don't make you look too bad." So yeah, a couple of
pretty damning.
young
That's
teachers
pretty damning.
who are
That's pretty damning. Yeah.
discouraged.
Yeah. That's a pretty damning statement, though.
Well, yeah, and I see people on social media say, "Well, you don't want to go to school, you don't want to teach, you'll just be replaced." But to me, what the details that got me on this person who was so discouraged was the involvement. Not only a young person who had decided to go into teaching, but was taking on other tasks in the school leadership positions, like National Honor Society advisor and the tennis coach. If we discourage a generation of teachers and just think, well, we're going to get there's somebody in line to replace you. I'm just not sure I think it's a flawed calculation.
My line of the morning basically has been, there are no good solutions. I posted a picture on Facebook I've mentioned to the audience several times this morning on my Facebook page out of a Cleveland TV station of a little kid, I'm guessing a first grader, very young, could be not much older than my grandson, sitting in his little makeshift desk in his kitchen with his computer screen in front of him and his little thermos sitting on his makeshift desk, and he's weeping into his T-shirt. And his mom said, when he stood up, all we did was hug each other. That's not good for kids. But what's the opposite? Send them all back to the classroom where they'll be wearing masks and be required to be socially distant, which young kids probably cannot do. Expose them to the possibility of COVID. I mean, there's no easy solution. Kids are going to, especially the younger ones, they're going to be impacted in a negative way by this. The best we can do is to come up with the least impactful decision. Is that a good phrase to use?
Yeah, and there's so much uncertainty. And when I talked to you and when I wrote the story, I emphasized the health concerns because that was the reflection of the bulk of the letters I saw. But there were also letters from parents, for example, that are expressing the viewpoint that you just mentioned. There was a parent from Morgantown who wrote that it's critical for elementary school students to experience face-to-face instruction. And she said, "I fear that many of our children, particularly elementary aged, will lose an entire year of education."
Yes.
And I assume that, from March on, they may not have parents or caregivers who can give the type of support that is needed to make remote learning successful, nor do they have home environments that are safe and secure. And that school systems have certainly become not only places to receive an education, but to receive social support, whether it's meals or kindness or merely socialization for all students. That social support of making friends and knowing that a teacher cares about you. So, I don't have any great answers here, except that there were concerns expressed about everything from the letters I read.
Yeah, well, the impact is on certainly the students, certainly on the staff and teachers and so on in terms of health issues. Also, students to some extent in concerns with health issues. What students bring home to their parents, even more, and then perhaps grandparents and so on, even more with health issues. But then there's the psychological impact of either way, going back to the classroom and being regimented into your seats with social distancing, or sitting at home, really bizarre situation, trying to figure out, why am I at home? I play with my little grandson every day, and I get down on the floor and we do all kinds of goofy, weird stuff. And I love to do it, don't anybody get me wrong. But I was thinking about this over the weekend. Granddaddy shouldn't be his playmate. I mean, I can be his playmate, but shouldn't be his sole playmate. But we play because that's all he's got to play with, because he can't be with his peer group. And that's going to, in the end, create problems. Again, there's no easy solution. Hey, before I let you go, let's go back to the beginning of this, the state school board, because does anybody besides me see the irony that the state school board says we can't have people attending our board meeting and offering opinions, but we think it's okay to send kids back to school? Is anyone besides me seeing some irony in that?
I would say yes, although the feedback that I get has more to do with the governor's press conferences continuing to be virtual, even though we're moving toward the school year beginning largely in person. And that may just be because the governor is in the spotlight and people are less inclined to really pay attention to the state school board. But I guess I feel like there's more irony with the schools opening in person when the state school board is not.
And I was going to take it to that next step. Here's the governor sitting in this big empty room, as the reception hall, where the governor's reception office. Where does he sit?
Yeah, there's a sort of ornate reception room right outside the governor's offices, and that's where he is. And initially, when we were all together, that's where the media would come in also and sort of sit in folding chairs.
And now it's all done remotely. And again, I'm just saying, I sense some irony or hypocrisy here. The governor, Brad and Stephen Adams and the other reporters can't go in and actually sit in the same room with the governor, but it's okay to put kids in classrooms. There's just something that doesn't jive with me on that. But I don't have time to get into it right now, Brad, because I got to move on. I assume you'll be on with Hoppy today, because this is going to be a ongoing story, I suspect.
10:30 is my time, and Superintendent Birch is at 10, I believe.
All right, well, we'll get some more conversation about that. I appreciate your time today. Thanks very much. We'll do it again. God help us. I don't know, maybe tomorrow. One never knows the way things are going. But thanks a lot, Brad. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Howard.
Brad McElhaney, Statewide Talk Line, and Metro News checking in this morning as we continue talking about the return to school or lack thereof. Well, it's 10 o'clock. I got a bunch of other things up in hour number Trey. Our last one together for the morning as we start off on a Monday.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.